It's achievable for you to build your own game. That is this challenge. And I just want you to be thinking, what is the concept? You heard Ponce the other day. I loved the PUBG, very specific part, and I wanted my own game about that. You'll see Christian Farley's example of kind of like a Rocket League with jets in outer space, which was pretty sweet. There were many other cool ones from the first cohort. If you could build a game, what would it be? Why would it be cool? What cool parts of the games you play today are there? So that's assignment 1.
You have a build, which basically takes all of the lighting and physics and makes sure it's ready to go and it's built for the assets you have in your world. And you also have play, which you can use to interact directly with your world. And running around in this world, it's just like running around in a video game. You can use WASD to move, and then also Q and E to move up and down, which will let you go throughout your world and look at different things. So since this is the advanced vehicle one, you can see right here we have our car. And this car is just what's called a skeletal mesh. And that's just something that allows it to interact physically with the world. And you can also see that there's these 2 bulky cameras behind it, which are just basically what the player sees. So when we start this right now, you can see that we're on this second camera placed behind the car. We can control the car and move around. And do tricks like that. So how does this all work, right? You're able to drive around and move in a car and go on this track and all that stuff, but what's behind it all? And what's behind it all for Unreal Engine in this certain map is blueprints. So if you go here and select blueprints, and this is how you manage all of your content. So you have your blueprints here, your meshes, your textures, everything is contained in your content browser. And you can click vehicle blueprint. So you can see that this is what the blueprints look like, right? It's very, very visual. And this is all the same exact logic that you do in programming. It's the same exact if and for loops, if conditionals and for loops and all these different types of logic, but it's just very visual. So let's look at one block, movement control, right? So we have these 3 different events. Input access move forward, which is when I press W. Input access move right, which is when I press D, and then input motion handbrake, which is when I press S and push back on it. And each of these different events, which is when something goes off in the game, triggers a certain thing. For this blueprint, what it triggers is setting the throttle input so you can steer and press the gas. So it's very logical and well arranged. And I know this might seem a little bit confusing at first, but the visual system is really intuitive. And there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube, so it's something easier to pick up and understand because it's not, confusing lines of code and stuff you can't read. It's very visual and you can see logically where everything goes. So the thing that I want you guys, for those of you that do have Unreal Engine installed, is to go on one of these preset worlds and mess around. Click the meshes and click the blueprints. Try to see if you can understand what it's telling the system to do. This is all a very object-oriented thing. So if you can go in and get a deeper understanding just by playing around, it'll help you a lot in learning Unreal Engine and creating your own game. So that's your guys' homework.
Okay, so with the Unreal Engine, you say it has presets to make like every different type of game, right?
Right.
Right. So is there like any way you could like put those 2 things together? Because I've been running a lot of ideas for what I want to create. I want to create something like a little bit like Carmageddon. Carmageddon was like a game where like you can drive around and attack people, but it was mostly a driving game to get to point A to point B. I want to do something like that, but is there like a way you could put those 2 things together, or do you have to do it one at a time?
Oh, you can do it within the preset.
So the reason those presets are there is because they contain blueprints that have the logic for that type of game. They have the different assets that are required for that different type of game. So what you can actually do, and what I did in my own project, is exactly that. I took some of those blueprints and that logic from the other presets and put them into my own game. So like you were saying, maybe you have logic that you need to use from a different project, and it gives you that all there so you can mix them together and create your own game.
Oh, thanks. That's just what I want to ask.